Hello, my name is Sally Pinto, and I'm the Program Director for the Yonkers NORC, Neighborhood Naturally Occurring Retirement Community. We serve seniors 60 plus in Northeast Yonkers. We are under the auspices of WJCS and the Yonkers Office for the Aging. We also have a resource specialist and a nurse on staff. We conduct virtual programming in partnership with the Yonkers Public Library on a daily basis. Enjoy the program.
As always, I'm not going to use specifically any props today, but if there's something that you like if you like to have a blanket for underneath your knees or to sit on, we're going to start in a seated position so you can start to make your way there if you're not already. And then if there's just anything else you like to have nearby, make sure that's in easy reach so you don't have to exert yourself too much besides the movement we're going to do on our mat. So you'll start to come to sit down, and you can always sit on a blanket. Just kind of helps to elevate the hips. If it feels okay, you can cross the legs. If that's just not feeling good this morning, you can even just have them out in front of you. We're just using this space right now to just settle into our practice today and just to start to ground ourselves and begin to center ourselves. So you're welcome to begin to close the eyes. And you can always kind of wiggle around a little bit when you first arrive, just to kind of check in and just allow your body to release a little bit. Just take a deep breath once you start to feel like you can slow the body down. Keep inhale in. And exhale, let it all go. That feels good. You can take a couple more breaths like that. Really deep inhale in. And then exhale to let it all go. Just allowing your awareness to begin to come to your breath. Starting to release the shoulders, relaxing the jaw. Just checking in with your body this morning. Just beginning to observe and notice. Notice the places where you're able to soften really easily. And then also notice the places that feel a little tight or tender this morning. Releasing the jaw, softening the muscles of the face. A couple more breaths to settle in here. Have your legs out in front of you. Maybe begin to cross them, and they don't have to be totally crossed, right? They can just bring the soles of the feet towards each other for more butterfly legs, or you can have one shin in front of the other. But you're gonna just start to find some seated cat-cows here. So begin to round the spine. Bring the chin to the chest. Feel like you're trying to just create a lot of space in the back body. And then start to open the heart. Take your gaze a little forward, maybe a little up. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. And take a couple more rounds. So round the spine. And then open the heart. And around. And open. One more. Around the spine. And then open the heart. Start to come back into a neutral spine, and let's reach the arms all the way up to the sky. Stretch it really tall, and then release the arms all the way down. So you might even use your inhale to reach the arms all the way up. And use your exhale to press the air all the way down and out. One more, reach the arms up. Except this time, we're just gonna bring that right hand towards the ground and reach the left arm up and over the head. Getting a nice side body stretch here. You can always bring your arm down if it doesn't feel good to keep it overhead, but we're just focusing on creating some space in the left side ribs. Sometimes it's even nice to just bring your hand there and almost feel like you're trying to lengthen it. So you might feel like you're just gently pressing the hip down, pressing the heart up. And then come all the way back to the middle. Reach the arms back up. And bring your left hand down and reach through the right side. Then you can keep your arm up overhead, or you can let the arm relax down, or you always can feel like you're just trying to gently encourage that soft tissue to just open up a little bit more. Sometimes we forget about our side body and how good it feels to stretch it, and it actually helps to release some of the low back. It helps to create a little bit more space for breathing. Just one more breath. And then come all the way back up. Let's reach the arms all the way up, and this time we'll reach the hands forward. So you can literally just bring the hands right in front of the legs and stay here. Or you can play with bringing the hands a little bit more forward. You want to feel like you're hinging at the hips and almost like we're in that cat shape with the spine. So we're still rounding the back. You can release the head all the way, or you can keep the neck at neutral. Reconnect with your breath when you find a place to pause. It never matters how far you go or where you stay. It just matters about how it feels in your body today. And a good measure of finding that place is just tuning back in with the breath. So if you feel like it's really hard to breathe, you might take it a step back. If you find that it's easy to breathe, you might play with going a little bit further, challenging yourself a little bit more today. Just one more breath here. So you'll slowly start to walk your hands in. Bring your hands behind you. If you have one shin in front of the other, you're just gonna switch. If you had butterfly legs, you're actually going to stay butterfly. Reach the arms all the way back up. We're going to go forward again. Hands forward, and then again, play. You might stay where you're at, or walk the hands a little bit more forward. Try not to put all of the weight into the hands. So if you feel like you're relying on the hands to completely hold you up, take it a step back a little bit and allow that weight to still stay in the hips. So it's almost like we're creating some resistance by pressing the hips down and trying to reach the head and the heart forward and getting a nice, beautiful stretch in the back body. Even send a few breaths to the back body to help create a little bit more space. Just a couple more breaths here. Nice and slow, start to bring yourself back in. Take your hands gently behind you just so you can straighten the legs out in front of you and just shake them out. Rock the legs. We'll start to come into our hands and our knees. So if you need a little extra padding underneath your knees, go ahead and either fold up your mat or you can throw a blanket there. I'm not on a mat, I'm just on my rug because my puppy likes to eat mats. So if she wakes up, don't want to lose my mat. But if you need a little extra padding, go ahead and throw something underneath your knees. We're not going to be here for too long, but I don't want you to be in pain when we're holding here. So as you start to find that tabletop position, you might just kind of rock your hips a little bit from side to side. So you're just adjusting to a new place. You might even notice that your hands and wrists are feeling a little tight. So you're gonna just start to kind of turn the fingertips out just to change the sensation in the tabletop. You might even kind of rock the hips a little bit forward and back as you carefully place the hands. So you get a little gentle stretch in the forearms. Or even just little circles, kind of just working on that mobility of the wrists. I invite you to take a couple of cat-cows here, again, just moving the spine, but from a different position. One more breath. Begin to find your way into a downward dog. So if that inversion sensation, putting your heart above your head, makes you feel dizzy at all, you're going to stay in your tabletop position today. If it feels okay, you're really always checking in with your body, you can go ahead and lift your hips up to the sky. You might pedal out the feet when you get here. If you stay in that tabletop position, you can even just extend one leg back at a time. a way to get all of the same movements no matter what version of poses you're taking. Reconnect with your breath. And just start to tiptoe your hands and feet towards each other. So if you're in a tabletop position, you'll just step one foot on the ground and then bring yourself up. And we're all going to come into this halfway lift thing. So you can keep a little bend into your knees. You can even bring your hands to rest on the tops of the thighs. But I want you to feel like the crown of your head is trying to reach forward. So you're actually a little active through the core, a little active through the back body. And you can stay here or release the whole upper body like you're trying to get the crown of the head to the floor. Now again, if that inversion sensation of part above the head makes you feel dizzy or lightheaded, stay in this halfway lift. And you can play and shift with the movement and where the feet are. You might even pedal out the legs a little bit. Start to come back to that halfway lift. Bring your hands to the tops of the thighs. Reach the crown of your head forward. Really press into the feet and start to come all the way to stand. And you can reach your arms all the way up to the sky when you get here. Just take a deep stretch like you just rolled out of bed. Then release the arms. Let's just roll the shoulders back. You can roll them forward. Let's start to bring our hands to our heart center. So standing up really tall, pretend like you have a string at the top of your head, and it's just gently lifting you up to the sky. As your hands are at your heart center, just start to press your hands into each other a little bit more. So just creating a little bit more intention and activation here. Your feet can be together or a little bit apart, however you feel most stable is perfect. And keeping the hands pressing into each other, just start to rotate the whole upper body towards the right. The moment you notice that your hips try to come with you, that's where you're going to pause. So your twist might be 1 centimeter. It might be 2 centimeters. Just almost think that you're trying to rinse out the spine here. Connect with your breath. One more. And then come all the way back to the middle and gently start to rotate the spine the other way. So it's going to be different from side to side. So the moment that your hips want to start to twist with you, that's where you're going to pause. So we're creating a little bit of resistance. And that's going to help us find our sweet spot today. Take one more breath. Come all the way back to the middle. Let's release the hands and reach the arms all the way back up to the sky. And we'll come back into that halfway lift. Keep a little bend in your knees, almost like you're in like a football huddle. And then if you're putting a lot of weight in your hands, what happens if you start to keep almost like this little squat here, but lift your hands and bring them back to your heart center? Keep your core zipping up through the midline. So like you're just putting on a sweatshirt and you've got to zip it up. Don't allow that engagement to hold your breath. You still want to be able to breathe deep while still staying active. So that might mean that you kind of change position, or maybe you bring a little light touch to the tops of the thighs. Just one more breath. Press into the feet and let's rise all the way up. Reach the arms all the way up to the sky. And release the arms down. So just start to turn to the long side of your mat and then take the feet wide. So just coming into a wide stance. Turn your right toes towards the short edge of the mat. And you can keep your hands on your hips. Just start to bend into your knee. And then straighten your leg. And bend. And then straighten. So we're just nice and slowly gonna start to come into this warrior two. We'll eventually find a triangle as well. But just kind of finding a little bit of dynamic movement, bending and straightening, really rooting into the feet. And the next time your knee is bent, start to pause. And bring your hands to your heart center. Now, it doesn't matter how deep your knee is bent. And you might even kind of rock in and out of it still a few times. And start to rotate your heart towards the long side of your mat. So there's actually a little twist happening in the spine in our warrior two. And then reach the arms up into a T. Reaching the fingertips long. One more breath. Maybe go a little bit deeper for this last breath. And then straighten the front leg. Let's bring our hands back to our hips. Turn the right toes back towards the long edge of the mat. And then turn your left toes towards the short edge. Hands on your hips. And just start to bend and straighten the leg. Nice and slow. Just being a little curious. How is it feeling this morning? And then the next time your leg bends, you can pause. Bring your hands to your heart center. Rotate your heart gently towards the long edge of the mat. So we're finding that little rotation. And then bring your arms up into a T for that full warrior two. Your gaze can be over your front fingertips. So even though it might feel like you want to press the feet apart, I want you to notice what it feels like to feel like you're trying to hug the legs towards each other. Really strengthening the power of the legs. Just one more breath. Straighten your front leg. Bring your hands to your hips. Turn all 10 toes back to the side of the mat. Turn your right toes towards the short edge of the mat. So we're going to go back to the first side. And we'll do that same action again. So we'll just bend a little bit and then straighten. Maybe not staying as long this time, about 3 to 5. But this time, we'll keep the legs straight. Root into the feet, bring your hands to your heart. A little rotation of the spine towards the long edge of the mat. Bring your arms into a T. And then reach your right hand forward as you push your hips back. And let your right hand come towards the shin, left arm up to the sky. And your gaze can be up towards the top hand or it can be forward, whatever feels better on your neck today. Just taking one more breath. Press into your feet, rise all the way back up. Turn all 10 toes to the long edge. And then your left toes to the back of the mat. And bring your hands back to your hips. Let's bend and straighten the leg a couple of times. And then again, we're going to pause with the legs straight. Root down into the feet. Hands to your heart. Find that little rotation of the spine. Arms into a T. Reach the left hand towards the left foot. And then down to the shin. Right arm up to the sky. Always reconnecting with your breath. One more. Press into your feet, rise all the way back up. Turn all 10 toes to the side of the mat. And let's walk our feet together. Kind of rinse them out, walk them out. And then just start to find, you can face back towards the front of your mat. I'm gonna just stay this way so you can see me. Just find a nice strong stance. So your feet can be together or a little bit apart. Just let your arms come by your side. You might close your eyes. Let's just take a pause before we move on. Reconnecting with your breath. It's okay if you feel like a little wavy, like you're blowing in the wind. It's totally normal. Gently open your eyes if they were closed. Let's bring our hands back to our hips and shift the weight into your left foot and just start to lift the right heel up off of the ground. And then start to lift the foot all the way up off of the ground. So now you're totally using that left foot. Now we're going to come into a tree pose. So if you need a wall or a bookshelf, you're welcome to hold on to that. I just have a bookshelf always next to me. So, and then just start to turn the knee out to the side And you might place the foot on the calf, or you can even take a hold of the foot and place it onto the inside of the thigh. I always say just to avoid the knee, only because it's a joint and we don't want to kick the foot too hard in there. So you can always be a little bit above or a little bit below. And you can even just have the toes on the ground and just have the inside of the foot at the ankle. You can start to play with bringing your hands to your heart center. Find something in front of you that's not moving. So don't look at like a pet or a person. And use that point as your focal point. And it's okay to feel a little shaky, but our body is just learning how to balance so that when we do almost feel like we're going to fall over, our muscles and our body know what to do to stop us from actually tumbling. If you're holding on to something, maybe you play with just gently, just like lifting it off. If you want to, you can even reach the arms up to the sky. Two more breaths here. And then gently start to release. It's okay if you fell out of it, just always try to bring yourself back in. And then just start to rinse that out and let that go. And forget what just happened, because your second side is going to be totally different. So start to shift the weight into your right foot. And we'll just start slow. Just start to lift the left heel up off of the floor. Start to lift the foot. Again, you can hold on to something, a bookshelf, a wall, a chair. Again, not like a person or a pet. And then you can start to turn the knee out to the side, so getting that nice rotation with the hips. And then place the foot somewhere on the leg. So it can be the shin, it can be the thigh, or the toes can be on the ground and you're at the ankle. Feel like you're trying to push the foot into the leg, and the leg is trying to push back. So it's actually helping you hug everything into your midline. Make sure you've got your focal point in front of you. And bring your hands to your heart, or even start to reach them up to the sky. It doesn't matter what you did on the first side. Your sides are totally different. You fall out, play with coming back in. Let's take two more powerful breaths here. And then start to release the leg down. And then just rinse it out, let it go. If you need to like walk out the legs, don't worry, we're gonna rinse out kind of all of that action we were doing without our hips, I promise. But you'll start to face back towards the front of your mat. And let's just reach the arms all the way up. Take it really tall. Take a deep morning stretch. We're going to bring ourselves back to a tabletop position. So you can just start to bring your hands to the floor and then bring your knees to the ground. So pull that blanket back if you need the extra support. And any movement, you can take any movement when you arrive here. Before we move on, let's come into a downward facing dog. So just curl the toes under and lift the hips up and back. Again, staying tabletop if you feel lightheaded. And then bring the knees back to the floor. And let's sink our hips back to a child's pose. Allow your arms to rest on the floor. You can always slide something underneath your torso or your head, or you can even slide a blanket or something behind the knees. We're not going to stay for too long, but I don't want you to feel like you're resisting the pose too much as we pause. We're really trying to let go just a little bit here. And slowly start to bring yourself back up. Start to move into pigeon pose. So just start to slide your right shin forward. So the knee is over to the right and the foot is over to the left. So if you start to get in here and you feel like your hips are really high, the way you're going to adjust that is actually by sliding the back leg back a little bit more. And you can always put something underneath that right hip and recline forward. Now, you know, I'm going to give you an alternative option. So if there's any pain in the knee, we don't want that. I want you to come onto your back and take a figure four. So with the right leg on top, you are getting the same stretch and you can hug this shape in. It's just less pressure on your knee, which is what I want. So it doesn't matter which version of pigeon you like. If you're good in both, you can even go with maybe the one that you don't take as often. Sometimes it's nice to just change it up. But they're both available to you. Connecting with your breath if you feel like it's getting harder to breathe. You can pull out of it a little bit. Last breath here. You'll slowly start to peel yourself up. You can bring yourself up and out. Maybe extend that leg back. If you're on your back, just kind of take a full body stretch because you're going to stay there. And then start to shift to the other side. So bring your left shin forward. So the knee just needs to be towards the left and the foot towards the right. Just so that way your hips are allowed to kind of equally drop towards the ground. So if you feel like your hips are really high, or like even your leg is really high, slide the back leg back is actually going to be the best way to allow you to go deeper, not by moving the front leg. Then you can recline forward. And of course, you've got that reclined figure 4 to come onto your back. So if you were fine on the first side, and then you come into this side and you realize that your knee doesn't like it, you can always come onto your back again. It's the same stretch, just a different perspective. Last breath here. You'll slowly start to peel yourself up. You can come back through tabletop, extend the leg back. We'll all start to make our way onto our backs if you're not already there. When you first arrive, wiggle around as much or as little as you need. If you need extra stuff for Shavasana, like if you like to be near a wall or a couch so you can put your feet up, make sure you set yourself up on your back next to it now, because we're going to be there really soon. And then just let the legs fall out in front of you. You might rock the legs a little bit, rock the arms a little bit. And then bring your knees all the way back in. And just let your knees drop over to the right. So you can keep your feet on the ground as the knees drop to the right, or the feet can float up in the air as you drop the knees to the right. We're just finding a little twist, spinal twist to rinse out here. Come all the way back to the middle and then go to the other side. So again, your feet can be on the ground or you can let the feet float as you drop the legs over to the left. And bring your legs all the way back to the middle. Any final movement here. So if you want to give yourself one final hug, hugging the knees in, rock the hips a little bit. And then start to extend your legs out in front of you. Let your arms fall by your side. If you need a little lift of the legs, go ahead and slide something underneath there. Or you can always keep the knees bent, but if you do that, just let the knees come together. I want you to find a place where you can really just let everything go. And I do offer the option to if being on your back is just uncomfortable and causes a little bit more achiness, just come into a fetal position on your side. If you're still in a nice, beautiful, relaxed position, but then your back has a little bit of more release and not as much pressure. And then of course you've always got the option to slide your legs up the wall or throw them on top of a chair or a couch. I'm just really using these last few minutes of class in complete and total gratitude for your practice today. Shavasana. Slowly starting to bring some awareness back into the space. Slowly starting to bring some awareness back into the body. Wiggling your fingers and your toes. Rolling out wrists and ankles. Rocking your head from side to side. Stretching your arms up overhead, taking a full body stretch. All the way from your fingers to your toes. Starting to hug your knees in and roll onto your side. Pausing there for a moment. Using the strength of your arms, beginning to press yourself up, coming into a comfortable seat, keeping the focus inside. Bringing your hands into your heart center, gently bow your head. Thank yourself for making it to your mat today, for your practice, for your energy, for your breath, and most importantly, yourself. Namaste.
Hi, everyone. This is Z from Yonkers Public Library. Thanks so much to Sally Pinto and Alexis from Newark. Thank you to our community partners, WJCS, the City of Yonkers Office for the Aging, Friends of Crestwood Library, and Yonkers Public Library for making this phenomenal partnership. And we thank each and every one of you for being part of our wellness community. Be well, stay well.